Okay. All right. No music today because
That's
we,
okay.
we got somebody. So we got a packed show.
Yeah, we do.
I think that's going to do it. Um, all right. Thanks. We're gonna start up the show. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks for joining us, everybody, on Intervision FM.
All right. Bye bye.
Today is Tuesday, June 28th, and we are coming up on the time where you're going to want to make sure that your ballots are in the drop boxes so that they can be counted for the folks that you voted for in the midterms.
Oh yes.
I hope you guys have voted for Johnny Johnson, District Number 5. I certainly wouldn't ever dream of telling you how to vote, but he's my personal
But
friend, and I kind of
I'll
like him.
tell you
He's
how to
cool.
vote. Vote for me.
Right,
I
right.
was I was out in the community today, and I went to this building, and it's a building. It's just was just built 2012, and we had talked to some people there, and the guy said, "Yeah, I saw your name on there, and I voted for you." And so I went to this meeting. They were going to have the community meeting yesterday at 3 o'clock, and I talked to the manager. Said, "Well, if you would have contacted me earlier, we would have had you in the meeting and stuff like that." But it was all good, and met a lot of good people in the neighborhood, and that was kind of cool, like just meeting everybody and talking to people and stuff. So so that was really cool.
That's
So that was
awesome. That's
yeah. So
awesome. We got a packed show for you guys today. We're going to talk about new release of a movie on August 20th called selectioncode.com. And it's along the same vein as the 2000 Jackasses kind of thing. 2000, I don't know. The benevolent overlords here at YouTube kind of go back and forth. They'll let some people say what the actual name of the movie is. Other times they'll straight up ban people. So if you enjoy uh, our disinformation governance board and you enjoy baby food shortages and you love paying higher gas prices so that the end result can be the Green New Deal, going into a better future and a better tomorrow, things like that, why you're going to want to get involved. You're going to want to go ahead and get out and make sure that your voices are heard because I can tell you, I'm not as enamored with these things. And so I can certainly tell you what I'm going to be doing and am doing currently to get involved at the local, state, and federal levels to try to affect some change.
yeah, and
We all realize that we need change. We all need unity. We all need to have togetherness. And there is an active force out there bent on dividing us and making sure that we cannot unite around our commonalities. We must not let this happen. We're going to talk about the Danbury Baptist Church. We're going to talk about a letter that was written and signed in 1791 by, oh, I'm sorry, well,
oh yeah, 1791, 1791,
1791 to 1802 or 18, something like that.
1801. I think it
So
was 1801.
basically, what we got going is this: Abraham Lincoln wrote a letter to the Danbury Baptist Church, and he signed a final draft that went to them in 1801. But the first instance of this letter appearing was when he wrote it back in 1791. This deals with the idea that church and state should be separate. That's the common misconception. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And we got a
Yeah,
couple of other topics as well on deck. We got,
Joe Kennedy,
yep, we got Joe Kennedy. We got, what's that? Myra,
Myra Flores.
yes, first Republican to win a democratically controlled, what am I here? I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, I got
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
quick
She
minute.
she, was the first Republican to win that the Congress seat there in 150 years, and first Hispanic as well.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's pretty
Yeah,
cool.
but Nancy Pelosi, they had a video of her pushing aside this daughter, this young girl, as she wasn't too she wasn't too excited that these Hispanic people were there that weren't Democrats. So she was showing how nasty she could be.
It's interesting. We're also going to bring up Clarence Thomas, one of the conservative members of the Supreme Court. So we got a packed show. Where do you want to start?
Well, let's see. Let me see. I'm gonna go down. Okay. Okay, the 14 Republicans that were for that red flag law,
Yeah.
most of those guys are retiring, and it's almost like they want to say, okay, my constituents can't get me on this. I've been a rhino just pretending to be a Republican, and so on their way out, they say, well, let's put this red flag up that will conflict with the Second Amendment. And I think that's the way it is with a lot of these guys. When they're finished, they got the good retirement, they got the pension. They show their well, throughout their term, they show their true colors, but they really show their true colors because nothing has been done with guns and so forth for like 30 years, and Biden has been there for that for more than 30 years. So it's just weird that well, it's not weird. It's just to be expected that these guys would do that. And speaking of that, this girl named Crystal Mathis.
Uh
You
huh.
probably never heard of her. She's from North Carolina. She's in the 17th district.
Uh huh.
She was caught on a phone call saying that, we should pretend to be Democrats. She says the Democrats should pretend to be Republicans, and get Republicans to vote for us. And then once we get in, we'll flip it.
Well, that's
And
nothing new, Johnny, because that took place during the Reconstruction just after the Civil War, where the Democrats wanted to get in there and still control Republican policies. Because you see, we started this country, this great political experiment, as a constitutional republic with a sort of democratic election process. This means that basically, 51% of a vote. Uh, will allow for mob rule sort of to take place. I mean it only in this way. It started out as a good balanced system where the constitutional republic restricted the governmental authorities and powers and made sure that the power relied on like representation of the people. So that's where democratic representation came in. You wanted to have 51% of the vote of the people to be represented within government. This way, obviously we could get fairly and duly elected individuals in there and have a good gauge of the voice of the people. Uh, I contend that's been subverted. What do you say,
yeah.
Johnny?
Now, if you could find that recording, because when I went back to, is that Daniel? Oh, um, when I found that recording, I no, when I googled it, it gave me that information about Crystal, spelled with a K, Mathis, and then when I went back to find it, Google wouldn't show me the same information. So it was a good thing I wrote it down the first time. I just wanted to cross over that. And if you can find it on the YouTube, because they push up everything but what you're looking for. Because I was going to play the audio because she was just brazen. And she said, hey, where's my drug dealers? I want to get some people to fund me, and I don't care if it's drug money or whatever. Uh, and she was just brazen. So we'll see if she wins the nomination today in South Carolina. We're gonna be watching that tonight, and we'll come back with more about that. But she was just really brazen about how the next round, how she's going to make sure that there's some Republicans, no, some fake Republicans there, and and I don't know. Do you think we could be that easily fooled by just somebody putting an R behind the name and saying the right words, and not really delving into the person? Or do you think it has a little be a little bit help from 2,000 mules to push it over?
That's an interesting question, Johnny. I do know that a leopard can never change its spots. I, as a blind person, can never identify. I mean, I can identify as sighted all day long. As a matter of fact, a quick story, and then we'll get on to the next topic. But
Okay.
I was in a line getting my ID removed, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to do this. So I went up there and I says, look, man, I'm angry. I want my driver's license. Yes, I'm in the Colorado State ID line, but I want my driver's license. You see, because I identify as sighted, and I tried really hard to keep a straight face. And
Huh.
the person was like, "What? Wait, no, you're blind, dude. You got a cane. I mean, your eyes are pointing in different directions, bro. You're blind." And I'm like, no, I identify as sighted and I want my driver's license. I identify as a sighted person. I can do this all day long. But on my spots, I'm always going to be blind, no matter if I pretend to be sighted or not. It's the same in this case because if you identify as a Republican, but you believe in the democratic processes and things like this, certainly those views and that kind of thing can be shared by both Republican and Democrat. But when
Right.
you're straight up going globalist and you're straight up going, you know what? There's a bunch of useless. If you're out here on the planet, you're stealing our resources. You guys are useless eaters, useless mouth breathers, and so therefore we know what's best for you. We're
Yes.
going to push our agenda and make it happen.
Yeah. And I was just thinking about what you were saying about like you're blind like 24/7.
Mhm.
But what about the people that are night blind?
Right?
Can they say I identify as not having
That's
night
blind.
blindness just because I I say so?
Man.
That's actually pretty. So
Oh my gosh.
can a sighted person identify as blind because, well, they are blind at night,
Yeah, yeah.
or colorblind for that matter. I can't.
Traffic lights. Yeah.
Yeah, traffic lights. I can't really speak to that. I don't know. It's
Yeah.
Now, also, it's a
He
lot of stuff
said
happening
traffic.
down there in Texas, Ashton. We got the 46 people that were baked to death.
Oh, that was horrible, dude. It was on
my.
the news just like right before I got on here. And that's what I was sitting there watching. And I'm just like, huh? I'm like, why do people do this? And someone was like, the people who bring these people over here, they get paid. They
Oh
make
yeah,
money doing that. They're not just doing it because they want to. They get paid to do that.
and I'm not sure why didn't they just give everybody some water? It's almost like they didn't care.
Yeah, and a lot of times them people that bring them folks over, they don't. They tell them, bring your own, pretty much bring your own water, bring your own stuff, because they're not gonna be responsible. They just jam these people in the back of trucks, and it's
Yeah.
it shines a light on the problem, but maybe some say, yeah, closing the physical border to keep that kind of stuff out of here because those people died. People have drowned trying, and that's whether you're Republican or Democrat. What's on the news with people dying? That's horrific. It don't matter who you are. People lost their lives in San Antonio down there, and uh,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
I
these
don't
are
judge people
yeah
for
these
their
are
views on that.
yeah these are illegal migrants, and they keep on forgetting illegal migrants. Why don't we just
Okay.
they just shorten the time that it takes? Because my wife did it, and it took us about a year, and I don't
Yes.
know why people can't decide to do it legally. It's not that difficult. We do it. We I got many friends that have come in from other countries and did the paperwork, paid the money, and just did it. And I'm not sure why is it so interesting to do it
Because some
illegally.
of them people may not, and you have to think of it too. Some of those people come from the poor, like the slums in their country. They said this on CBS, like, one of the Channel 13 or PBS is what they public broadcasting, right? And they document stuff really, really good on there. And they had a camera crew down there, and they showed the conditions, man, that these people live in. And I'm just like, in America, we complain about the projects, and these people are living in 10 buildings that's made of 10. I would
Or
want to escape that too. I
or
mean, I would
or
want to.
what about a sponsor? Because I was my wife's sponsor. Getting a sponsor, because some of these people have relatives here.
They're not allowed. They're not allowed because sometimes the drug cartel. See, a lot of people don't understand. When I watched that special on PBS for 4 hours, it was very detailed in how these drug cartels they cut money off, and so it's not as easy as people say, especially if you don't
Right.
live there. You
Yeah,
know,
Right. It is. It
it's
is indeed all about the money. It is
yeah, you
indeed.
gotta have money to do all that, man. It's not
yeah,
easy.
yeah. But
It's
I'm just
expensive.
thinking like, okay, or then the Democrats that want the flood of people, they should get a bunch of, instead of paying Antifa and Black Lives Matter to destroy black neighborhoods, send those Antifa and Black Lives Matter, send them down there to help them with the paperwork.
They sent a bunch of people when those migrants came from Haiti, those black people, brother. They tried to go down there and help them people. It was all kinds of people down there, but the
Uh,
state of Texas would not let the churches down there. My friend drove buses down there. They wouldn't let anybody help them people.
well,
So it's not,
I got an
you know.
idea. Okay, in the over at night, usually they take these migrants and then the churches take them. Then they give them tickets. They fly them here and there. They do it in the middle of the night. Now, if they can organize that in the middle of the night, maybe they should organize it during the night, not during the day, as they're flying all these people all over the United States, putting them wherever they want. I mean, that's an idea. If they could do it
It's a
overnight.
great idea. They did try to do some stuff to try to get people where they needed to go. But ultimately, I think people, like you say, if there's a way to sign up legally, cool, it just needs to be faster because a lot of these people are fleeing conditions that we never have to live in the United States. We don't live in 10 roof buildings. We don't live in buildings with no plumbing. I don't. So it's a standard. The reason these people come here is that there are demands, what I call demanded standards. That means your housing has to be a certain way. The government can't just cram you in the housing with no electricity or things like that. And in a lot of their countries, they don't have
Oh,
standards. I mean, I
oh,
was watching something. A whole stadium collapsed over in Africa because they have no
oh,
building standards. Really, they just chunk stuff up and hope that it stays. We don't
yeah.
function like that in
Wait,
America. We have
wait,
standards
wait.
here.
Answer. I got to tell you this because I do this other radio show on Fridays
Uh,
with this guy named Reggie, and he told me that we have this thing called Craigslist. I don't know if they
Right.
have and in there they have like apartment managers that they say, I have an apartment for $800, low price, because usually it costs like 1,500 and up. And so in these apartments, they get the people who can't who would normally get other apartments. They rent them rooms and rooms. And he said he went to one of these places, and he said it is filthy. The guy who's managing it, he says he doesn't care. He just give me the money, and if you don't give me the money, you're out of there. So in Denver, Colorado, there's little pockets, but it's only advertised in Craigslist of these. I guess they used to call them lords,
Yeah.
and I was surprised that it is here in Denver where they can actually get away with this because the people, they can't get any other apartments. They just need a roof of their house, of their head. Um, and then we were at McDonald's yesterday because after we went and walked around passing out my leaflet for both of me. We went to McDonald's, and behind me was this guy that he wasn't probably too swift in the head, but this other guy, and I guess they had a Ronald McDonald house for homeless people.
Okay.
And so what they do, once again, it's overnight at 3 a.m. This guy was to check in at this homeless house, and then he asked the guy who was helping him fill out the paperwork. He says, "Can you give me a ride there?" And he says, "No, it's against the rules. I can show you, give you the bus route to get there, and you have to be there at 3 a.m. And if you're going to be late, give me a call. But I cannot physically take you there at 3 a.m. in the morning. And I said, wow, this is like a world I never even heard about.
Yeah.
But I've heard of the
Yeah,
Ronald
man.
McDonald House.
Yeah, I used to be homeless. A lot of the shelters and stuff out here, but the reason that they would have them pick them up at night is because a lot of times during the daytime there's traffic, there's movement, and they don't want these vans, buses, and other things blocking traffic, and so a lot of them want to be picked up at night anyway. And so they do that in coordination with cities because the cities allow that. But nowadays, yeah, no, don't go pick up people because you don't know what they're gonna do. Forget the rules. You don't go pick up strangers nowadays. This isn't like the 80s. I watched a movie that was filmed in the 80s and one in the 70s, and I busted out laughing because I'm like, what the hell? You never pick up a hitchhiker nowadays. Like the guy in this movie, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm thinking, man, is this for real? And for real, when I started Googling that stuff, they literally people would be on the side of the road with their thumb out and they would pick them up. I busted out laughing in this movie. I said, because times have changed. And that shows you that there are stipulations and people in this country live in absolute impoverished conditions that I saw, a place in here in Fort Worth. The place the lady stayed in, she couldn't afford to have electricity and things like that. And it's hot. And so it's really sad the conditions that people are forced to live in who live on, if you live on $800 a month, people think the government has you balling. That's not true. You got people living in slumlord conditions because
Yep.
if you're 70 years old, where are you going to go work at?
You can't.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right,
You
Aston.
can't work.
What'd you say, Daniel?
I apologize. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No.
I'm sorry. I object to an 85-year-old person having to go to work as a greeter at Walmart to make ends meet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, but this is something that happens all the time. In fact,
Where's the respect for our fellow veterans?
absolutely. Now,
Yeah.
we've also
It
got
was
11
veterans
million.
up there. He's right. It was a bunch of people up there working at this Walmart that's back here because they had a sign saying need staff hiring today. So
Right.
it was a bunch of older people. I was talking to a lady who's a greeter there, and she said, I just came here because I have no money. I can't make it. She said, I don't blame Democrats. I don't blame Republicans. She said, I've been alive long enough. I don't blame the parties, but I just blame how the system's constructed. And so that's the same with me. I don't know who to blame. I just know that the system that's in place for people on disabilities, it's not enough, or else these folks and elderly people wouldn't be working at Walmart or Home Depot. It's really sad, guys, what I see out there.
Can I interject?
Sure.
As the night blind gets zero benefits, because I read
Yes.
finally yesterday your request that you beautifully, eloquently typed up for me on Sunday. That I apologize. I did not get it. I told you I lost my phone.
All right.
Yeah.
I just did read it today and yesterday. And I'm very thrilled. I'm impressed with you gentlemen.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, sir.
We like to give our guests like a chance to really express themselves and so forth. But like I said, Daniel Hendricks for
United
States
United
Senate.
States.
Yeah.
I'm running against I'm running against Hanks. You got to write my name in on the ballot because I'm not the pay to play. I'm not the petition. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
I love the
Absolutely.
beach.
Absolutely.
Why do you have to write your name in the ballot and everybody else's names typed? I've noticed that on certain things. Why do certain candidates have to write their name in, but others' names are listed on there?
It's called the write-in process. I thought I established that as a fact yesterday.
Yeah, it's just a write-in process. It's like, anybody can be a write, but you just have to do the paperwork.
You got to do the paperwork.
Qualify.
You had to have it in before April 24th. Had to be notarized.
It's actually an interesting question. It's very valid. Why do we have write-in candidates? Well, the easy answer to this, to quickly try to sum it up, you've got folks that are established.
I'm not homeless.
What's that?
I'm not homeless. I'm down to $78,000. Sorry. I got it
Yeah.
next month.
Oh man.
So anyway, to sum this up quickly, it works like this: you got folks that are well funded, well supported on both sides. Then you got folks like Mr. Hendricks here, who Daniel ended up deciding he wanted to follow the write-in process, and a lot of times write-in candidates just don't have the backing necessary that some of the Republicans or Democrats enjoy. Some of that has to do with nonprofit status. Some of that has to do with the fact that there are just there's just big money in all this stuff. And instead of it being a situation where I want to help in the governance of my people, and I want to do this out of the goodness of my heart, it's become an actual career. So,
Yes,
once you get in there, you can theoretically hold office for 50 years, sometimes more. I think
That's BS. I'm going to commit. No, wrong. 6 plus 6 is 12. I'm 56.
Well,
Ain't
right.
happening.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So that's why the write-in process takes place. Let's talk a little bit about the Danbury Baptist Church real quick,
Okay.
and the propagated myth of church and state. The idea behind this was simply that no organized religion can be pushed on a people. So you can't theoretically say you've got to worship this or else kind of thing.
The federal
It
government
was
can't
more
tell you.
it was more a situation where, okay, it's fine. You can worship however you wish to worship. And you've also got freedom from religion. You don't have to worship anything. But the legislative process is based upon Judeo-Christian values. That's where the separation of church and state should be, that that there should not be an organized religion pushed. As far as laws and that kind of thing, and that kind of separation of church and state, no, we have to have laws which are based in grounded principles. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife.
Call the 10 Commandments.
The whole 10 Commandments thing.
Thank
you. That is why 10 Commandments are being removed from schools, from governmental institutions. That idea that there has to be, let's just put the Bible aside for now, but there has to be a grounded structure of don't do this. There's these guardrails here. Don't pass them. And that's really all it boiled down to.
And
Go ahead, John.
it wasn't something like in order to be a republic, we have to have certain moral standards, and to be in order to be self-governed in these different states.
Well, that's right.
That football coach that won the Supreme. Well, I don't remember his name, but he was
Joe Kennedy.
Oh, beautiful
and
too.
the Liberty Institute backed him. It's something called the Liberty Institute, and this is what I tell people: whether you're Democrat or Republican, a lot of people worship God. And I told a Democratic person, because they go to church too, and we sat down and talked, and I said, would you want your right to worship taken from you? And they said no. So I think on this you also have Democrats that want to worship God and have that right to do. But when it comes to public schools, some say that that should not be, because you're forcing a religion onto a school body. But if I remember what I Googled, because I didn't grow up in y'all's era, there was God in schools for whatever reason. Some people who did not believe in God believed that public schools should not have gotten involved in that in the first place, because it's the word public. Private schools can do whatever they want, but I believe that you should be able to put God back in schools, but offering it as an elective choice, meaning that people have the choice to go to that class, and in some schools it could have been forced on them. So that's why I
Yeah,
think they removed it.
and it was taken out of schools in 1960. There's a lady. It's a movie on Netflix. If you want to, the most hated woman
Okay.
in the world, and I forgot her name, but she's the one who put it forth. Her 17-year-old son went to school. She's an atheist. She was raised with her son as an atheist, and they said, "Well, mom, they're making me pray in school," and so she put that forth, and it was a movie about it, and it didn't end up too well for her. Madeline Murray O'Hara. Yes, Madeline
Happened.
That's right.
Murray O'Hara. Oh, what? You have Netflix?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm gonna watch it, Madeline. Like
Yeah.
you said, and put that in
Madeline.
the chat, somebody.
Okay.
What is her name?
Madeline Murray O'Hara, and the movie's just called "The Most Hated Woman in the World." So,
Wow, because I thought church and state, for me, I never ever thought that it should be separate or what have you, but I've always thought that one religion, the way I understood it, which was correct, is that one religion should not be forced upon a body. So I guess with these schools, I wasn't born in the 60s, and I just feel like, man, if I was born in y'all's errors, I would get a lot of this, but a lot of it I can go and look up, thank you, Lord, for the internet, which I did.
yes,
uh
yeah,
God set a precedent, man, that God should have been in schools, and we can bring it back, but we can reform it, meaning, and even in public schools, that now we can teach this, but make it an elective, and I think that that's fair.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
that people who want to learn about God should also have the right to do that in a school setting if they choose to do that. That's my opinion.
Ah, all right. Hey, ladies, we've been over. Hey, please don't forget to like and share. A lot of people watch this and they haven't subscribed yet, so we want you to subscribe to our podcast here. And I didn't change the name, so you're going to see a name for yesterday's show on here. But I'll go back in and change the name to the right there. So many things to remember when I'm setting up these shows. But I
On a
will.
rabbit hole.
I definitely.
I
Well,
didn't
keep
know that. I was told that the other day by a dude that does another podcast.
Oh yeah, and tomorrow I'll come in victorious in my category, and we'll talk about the winners tomorrow and how close they came, because I want to see the percentage of who got
Right.
what vote, and we'll talk about that tomorrow. And it's going to be exciting. So we'll see,
it's fun.
we'll see everybody tomorrow here on
Intervision FM.